game. So we're going to dive on in, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for game number 2. Thank you so much for the support for that EGC TV community. Very much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 2. Currently leading the map. Do not believe what you see on your screen right now. I can assure you that is incorrect. Beasty is up 1-0 against LucifroN, and he spawns in on that north side in the yellow, playing as the Rus. LucifroN on the south side here in the blue as the English. And boy, oh boy, Lidakor, don't we have a game for you today? Look at that bounty. Wow.
That's lovely. And look at that, he's going for a second hunting cabin straight away. Gotta love that, especially when those hunting cabins are so good with the gold trickle. It justifies your investment of wood, plus you will have access to the shorefish. You see Beasty moving towards that as well. So, as much as this is a big investment at the beginning of Dark Age for Beasty, it returns that investment really fast in terms of the gold that comes in terms of you being able to afford wheelbarrow, even if you're low on bounty, and in terms of course, getting access to the shorefish straight away.
Yeah, that's my first thought. It means like it's guaranteed wheelbarrow, right? Like expect to see Beasty researching wheelbarrow immediately. Probably, you know, he might look to put down a lumber camp first, but it will come in very quickly. Meanwhile, let's check in on the other side of the map because we've got a bounty that's coming through for Beasty. LucifroN's gone with the single scout opening here, which I definitely think is the right call. Against the Rus, we've seen this trend away from matching them with that second scout. And I'll be honest, it hurts giving them that extra bounty, but it hurts you even more to contest it, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's an interesting point to bring up indeed, because with the Rus, you don't have to sacrifice a single villager for making that scout. You make it on the hunting cabin. With the English or with any other civilization, you would have to sacrifice a villager for this. And especially on a map like this, where you have a lot of shorefish to work with, it's just so painful to sacrifice that one villager. And if you think about it, especially at the highest level of competition, Rus players will still get to that tier 2 bounty, even if you go double scouts. So as you said, more often than not, players will just play one scout and accept the fact that they cannot deny enough bounty from the Rus player that would cut them off from that tier 2 bounty.
Yeah, that is a huge part of it. It's just like, what's the point? But speaking of points, right now, LucifroN 7 is beginning to age up, and we will get towards the pointy end of this Dark Age. Not opting for any kind of aggression in the Dark Age, as you would suspect in this matchup. There's not really many resources that you can attack against the Rus, but we're going to see an age up coming through now for Beasty as well. And no surprises here. It is the Kremlin. Have a look at that Kremlin spot. How much food would you like? Beasty just says yes.
Oh, I love it. That's such a lovely spot. Not a common sight to see a forward Kremlin like that, but you have the hunt there. Even more importantly, it protects a pond with 3 drops of shorefish. It even secures the sacred site a little. Strictly speaking, there is also a pond to the front that you could take with this. It's, as I said, somewhat unprecedented to see a Kremlin placed like that. Usually you see it being placed on the gold. But especially against the English, who don't have a lot of mobility, this can work well. I could see Beasty using, let's say, a wooden fortress on his gold mine in the future, and just preventing the longbows from harassing it. If this was against the French, this would be a little more difficult to defend against the Knights, but I love that placement. It's going to secure a lot of food for him. And don't forget, he's not that reliant on the gold right now, because he's got some great hunting cabins working for him.
Yeah, I got to agree with you 100%. Let's check out this base of LucifroN, though. We can see that he's already got the barracks down, and you know what that means. That means that we're going to have aggression out today. LucifroN, in classic LucifroN style, says, it's time for some feudal action, baby. Let's get to it. So he's going to start off with a longbow, head into some spearmen. Normally what we see English players do is they start out with longbow spear. Once that mass of longbows begins to build up to around 15, 20, that's when the men-at-arms start getting mixed in. In this matchup, though, you've got to be careful about going too heavy on the men-at-arms, just because the Rus have got a lot of tools that they can deal with it, especially in the feudal age. They've got access to the knight, which gives them a pretty big advantage.
It does. It also gives a mobility advantage for the Rus. So one of the things that you will have to respect if you're LucifroN is the ability of Beasty to push your base, to hit you in the eco, especially if you work on that shorefish as well, which seems to be the case for LucifroN. He is not going to get the scout over here. Scout just barely escapes over here. He will try to get the final hit in, but it's just going to be a little too far out. Beasty saves that one scout. Also gets notification about the longbowman coming from the south.
Yeah, so this will look to try and challenge some of those resources. We can take a look at the base of Beasty and see if there's anything particularly exposed. But I think realistically, there's not too much. And on a map like this, you can be quite mobile with your villagers. We can see right now that Beasty could quite easily just come over to the other side of his wood line as the first villager now begins to get attacked. He's got a stable going up, so he'll be looking to try and throw down maybe a horseman or a knight, depending on how he's feeling. But just as easily as we saw. And look at this now, longbow will find its way through over here. He's got to be so careful, though. That Kremlin has a huge range.
It does. Lovely use of the scout from LucifroN, by the way. The longbows cannot shoot over the forest if they don't have line of sight, but once they do, they can shoot over. So one of the things that LucifroN has done is position the scout such that the scout has line of sight on the villagers, which will allow the longbows to shoot over. You see, he repositioned his scout now. That allows the longbows to shoot at the villagers, and this will force Beasty to relocate to the north again.
Yeah, really cheeky from LucifroN, but really smart use of the scout. So Beasty now throwing out that extra 50 wood on the lumber camp. Doesn't really get much use out of it, has to move on. And I would suspect LucifroN will be looking towards that top side as well. He'll be doing the math and saying, where did those villagers go and how can I stop them? But we see the first of the knights coming out. He's got his big stick ready. Watch out, you little longbows. Fortunately, a spearman is here to save the day. Does chase him away for the moment. Longbow mass beginning to build. He's up to 10 longbows now, LucifroN is. And interestingly, no villagers on gold. So this to me really just means he's going pedal to the metal on units. Normally you'd see 2 villagers left on gold when a feudal age play is being made. But we don't even see 2 villagers left on gold. That just means, to me, that means just he is going full aggression right now. We'll be looking to build up that big mass. Then could even look to think about something like siege engineering potentially.
Quite possibly, but as you mentioned, he's got 0 villagers on gold right now, so blacksmith upgrades are not a thing right now. He just prioritizes numbers, and I'm not against that, especially if he anticipates some knights to come out. It helps a lot that you have an extra 2 or 3 spears as compared to, let's say, having one of the blacksmith upgrades. It sounds awkward, but at the end of the day, especially when Beasty's spreading out as well, and you want to use multiple small groups of units to harass him, as I said, I think the numbers game might be a little bit better for LucifroN right now. He just shifted a couple of villagers to gold, so this is where the blacksmith upgrades will start becoming a reality, and he's going to open up with the ranged upgrade. But as you said, now siege engineering becomes a lot more legitimate.
Yeah, so the typical thing we'll see here is the start of +1 ranged attack, followed by +1 ranged armor, and then into siege engineering. If he so chooses to play it out that way, he's got other options as well that he can look at. He could think about going straight to castle. I know Beasty's a big fan of doing that. He puts on this pressure and then goes to castle. Doesn't look for the second TC, but here's a knight down on the south side. First villager already going down. Beasty managing to pick that up. And LucifroN running for dear life right now. Well, not really for dear life. It's more for shorefish life.
Pun intended, indeed. 2 picks out there for Beasty, and this is the problem with the English on this map. They're slow, they're sluggish. Now the scout gets taken down. LucifroN is forced to make a new scout. You can see at the top of the screen. He's going to have to sacrifice a villager for that because he's doing that from the TC. That's such a painful loss. He just lost 2 vills, will lose an additional one because he's forced to make a new scout to provide him vision.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an increasingly tough spot here for LucifroN. I think the question is going to be how much value can he get out of this feudal force, because we do indeed see siege engineering is coming out. Didn't opt to go for iron undermesh, so avoids getting that +1 ranged armor, and is instead just going to go straight for siege engineering. And it looks like there might be a little bit of a way through here. I don't know whether Beasty's chopped his way through or what's happened, but
the sheep might actually provide line of sight. You see it's crawling towards the villagers.
Yeah. Sean the sheep, always so naughty. He manages to find himself in these awkward little spots, and it looks like he's managed to do that today. So we hear the first ram is already coming down here. LucifroN comes up empty-handed with the sheep, though. But I think I already know what's going on the thumb now. Sheep OP.
The small details that make the mile, really. It looks like one longbow will be picked off over here by the knights. Gets away, thanks to the spearman arriving in time. A lot of hunters exposed just next to this battlefield, though. And LucifroN knows it. He's going to wall this up.
Yeah, it's chaotic, this map, isn't it? You can feel that there's just so many little avenues that you can get attacked through, or you close your eyes on one area for a moment and you just get attacked from there just immediately after. So you've always got to be very cognizant of those attacks coming through. But speaking of attacks on the back line, villagers now got to be running for dear life once again. We see another villager lose its life, and the spears manage to save everybody else. Meanwhile, towards the middle of the map, the first of the battering rams begins to batter down the hatches on that Kremlin, but he's got to be careful. Infantry pretty far away from this Lidakor. Where are they?
Yeah, the ram is undefended. This is an easy pick for Beasty. Does a lot of damage to this. Wouldn't be surprised to see LucifroN pull a villager to repair this, but this is delaying his push so much. And now you see Beasty is starting to add his own archers. He's up to 11 as compared to 19 longbows. If this push gets delayed a lot more, this is gonna be worrisome, because Beasty is now getting the blacksmith upgrades. He's getting some horsemen out. He's got some knights in there. Archers as well. LucifroN needs to make something happen soon, otherwise Beasty will have sufficient army to defend.
The scary thing for me is, at the moment, Beasty's got wheelbarrow, double broadaxe, and you know he's got that plus 20% wood gathering. So this to me really says, hey, I am ready to just spam out archers for the rest of this feudal age. If you want to do it, let's do it. And that's a dangerous game to play with the Rus. A civilization that is not afraid to spam out those archers, and even if you decide to make men-at-arms, Beasty's going to reach numbers very quickly that can threaten a big mass of men-at-arms, and we actually start to see them getting mixed in now. 2 men-at-arms out on the field. LucifroN, as he hits that 20 longbow mark, will start mixing them in, but it's looking good at the moment for Beasty, we'll say that much.
Especially after this, he finds a couple more villagers. Up to 6 villager kills he is, and he's going to find a couple more here. These knights are paying for their price so well.
Wow. What? The quickest best of 3 I've ever seen. In the blink of an eye, Beasty just says, mate, you're done. Get out of here. And LucifroN taps out. In 2 games, Beasty manages to take out LucifroN, and it's normally when you would expect LucifroN to take Beasty out. Beasty's the king of the late game, and here he just outclasses him in the early game. What the hell are we watching?
17 minutes and 11 minutes. Beasty dispatched LucifroN in a best of 3 in less than half an hour. That's just unreal. We're talking about some elite players here. LucifroN played the grand finals of Golden League against Beasty, and Beasty, just at the top of his game today, sub 30-minute win in a best of 3.